other people are coming. Okay, no issues. We will continue today's class.
Okay.
Okay. So, Kavita, is there any doubt from the last class, which means we did conditional spread, derived columns, and we worked on the stool task.
Actually, I didn't install yet. So as far as
Okay,
like
okay.
apart from the class, I don't have any doubts, and from the class also like I understood mostly everything. So
Yes, the which means the SSIS is not difficult that much because everything we do is the GUI programming, we call it. Okay, so what you need to do is like for different tasks you have tools there, drop it to the window, and configure it according to your
Mhm.
usage type. Okay, so SSIS is not that much difficult, so no need to worry about it.
Yeah. I mean, it will be difficult for me to, learn which one to drag from that, toolbox. Like you are telling me all the options, right? I think that it
Yes,
will
exactly,
be
exactly. So, so for starting, it will be difficult. Like when there will be a list of tools in your library. Like earlier, we don't know about the tools. Okay, so we
Mm-hmm.
started working with this data flow and then execute SQL task. And again, if I so there are so many tasks which we do not know. So when we do demos more and more, then only you will be comfortable with all these tasks. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and in the same way for data flow task, uh, we are also learning on it. So do not worry about it. We will take a look on almost all of these tools. Okay, not
Yeah.
to all, but common ones, which means which are used on a daily basis, which means for frequent tasks you need these tools. Okay, so we will look on this. So do not worry like how the tools we are going to learn. Okay,
Okay.
so mhm. So today we will learn some more tools. So then only you will become one day you will be comfortable like yes I know this. Okay.
Okay.
So it depends on your task like what you want to do and then we decide which tool will be comfortable for that task.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So today we are going to do something on loop containers, for loop container. I think you are comfortable with for loop. As we do in our some basic programming, we define some for loop to repeat the process, which means to repeat the same thing for n numbers of time.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we do in basic programming, like the loop will start from zero and it will increment by one by one. Okay, and it will last for the maximum limit which we define. Okay, so in the same way we have a container here in this SSIS that and that we can define like from which point from it will start from one, which means it will run for one first time, and if you want to repeat that process again and again, then you can um, put all those tasks inside this for loop container, and you can configure this for loop container like how many times you want to run this to run this task. Okay, so let's take a look on it, like how we are going to do this.
Okay.
Okay, so we did something in last class, and those were the three things which we decided in control flow. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
So we know like for every time for to run it, every time we go here and press start. Okay, so we want to do something like when we press start, run these three tasks in a repeated way for, let's take an example, for three times. Okay, so you want it to be run for three times, which means one after another. Okay, so to do that you need this for loop container from the tool pane. Okay, so we are going to have a look on these two containers, for loop and sequence container. Okay, so first take this for loop container, and the main usage of this is to repeat the task again and again as you define for n numbers. Suppose if we are talking about three times, then when we press on the start, then this whole thing will execute for three times.
Okay.
So now we will drag all these tools inside the loop, then only it will execute. Hold a second. Control Z. Hold a second. I'm just arranging the things. You can give me a minute, like I want to reopen this package in this Visual
Okay.
Studio because now. So why you are not installing the setup? Huh?
No, no, it was weekend, right? So I was not at home. Like I didn't ask them also. So then, like today I'll ask them, and by tomorrow I'll try to install.
Okay, okay, so it's better to have this thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So here we were. Okay, it came out. Okay, so for to do it again, we need loop container. So what I did is I drag all the tasks from outside window to the inside of the loop container. Okay, So now we will decide like to run this loop container 3 times, which means if we are deciding this loop to run for 3 times, then it will execute all these 3 tasks for 3 times. Okay, so what I am
Okay.
saying 3 times is like we decided to run this package. When we hit this start button, then it will run for 3 consecutive numbers. Okay, one by one.
Okay.
Okay, so for that, obviously, when we double click on it to configure it, so it's a same method of configuring it. For each tool, we need to configure it, and to configure that tool, we need to double click on that tool, and after that, a new window will open, and there we will decide like how this container or tool will work. Okay, so as we know, for loop we decide 3 things like what will be the initial step, which means from which it will start, and what will be the increment, and after that what will be the final check up to which point it will run. Okay, so I am just configuring it, then we will discuss on it. Okay, after configuring it will be easy to discuss. Okay,
Okay.
so to configure it, I need 2 variables. As we know how to create variables. As you can see here is the window for variable. If you are unable to find this window, then you can find it from this view, and from other window you will have variable tab. Okay.
Right. Okay.
So now click new variable and name it as initial. And let's make this value max. We want it to, I'm just defining 2 variables
Mm-hmm.
and I'm assigning values to that. Now coming back to the loop container to configure it, in the initial. Okay, so we will assign here at the rate, what was the name of that variable? INITIAL initial evaluation expression. Okay, so we configure it as we want. Okay, so it will start like from the initial value equal to 1. give its value from 1. We will reset that. We know like we created an initial variable and we given the value from 1. Okay, and here also we are setting the value 1, so no issues. And from that, again the evaluation expression will be like it will run. Okay, so next it will check like initial value should be smaller than equal to the max value. So we know like I think this will not come initial expression. I'm confused a little bit. Let's see if it is running or not. Where it is running this package. I don't want this package. Oh, as we did something in last, so that was coming out. Vector executed for 3 times and we want to see something the watch. Hey, give me a minute, okay? So do not
Okay.
worry about it.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, it is running. So, okay, let me explain it again. Okay, so earlier we were having these 3 tasks, and in this data flow, let's disable the data viewer first. Disable data viewer. Hey, do you want any documentation on these things, which means a book or something?
I think if you have like soft copy of that, it would be good if it is with me.
But that page number will be more than 500 if you
That's
want.
fine. That's
Okay, so
fine.
no issues. I will share a book with you. Okay, but after only we will finish the demos, then only you will be comfortable to read that book. Okay, so
Okay.
if you start reading that book at this time, then you will have so many confusions and so many difficulties. Okay, so when we finish all the demos of this exercise, then you will be very like when you start reading the book, then you will be very comfortable to read the everything. then only you will find like, oh, oh yes, we did this in the demo. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so the loop container is nothing. It's like a container that will execute for n numbers which we define. Okay, so to define that, we need to have two variables. Okay, so from where it will start, like from the initial expression, like it will be the first step will be the variable. We decided we created a variable whose value will be set to 1 from the starting. When it will execute for first time, it will set the value of initial variable to 1. Okay, and after that, what in the next thing, what it will check the condition. If this condition satisfies, then it will execute. So this initial expression is for first time only. Okay, so now it will go back to this line. So for the first step, we know that initial value is 1, and now it will check like 1 is smaller than equal to or not. So we given the max value to the 3. Okay,
Okay.
so as you can see in the variable window, we created a max here, a variable with max, and there we fixed that value to 3. There we given the value of that variable to be 3 numeric. Okay, so now evaluation expression, like it will check for each loop, which means when it will it will execute the loop, then it will first check this condition. Like if this is true, then only it will run the cube, run the loop. Okay, so now we know that for the first time this will execute, so its value will be 1 smaller than equal to 3. Okay, so obviously it will return a true. Okay, so for this it will execute, and after executing for the first time, it will increment the value here, a sign expression, which means we want to increment the value of initial by 1. Okay, so after first time execution, the value of initial will be 2. Okay, so again it will come, it will run, it will to run the second time, it will come here evaluation expression. It will check the value of initial. We incremented the initial value to 1 in the first step, so the initial value of initial will be 2, and in this it will check like 2 is smaller than 3. So for the second time also the condition will return 2, and for the third time similarly for the third time, which means this will increment the value of initial by 1, and for third time it will execute because 3 smaller than equal to 3 will be true. And for the next after 3, this initial value will be 4, and for that, to run it fourth time, it will check this condition, and in that the condition will uh, result
Fail.
as a false. Okay,
Yes.
so then it will not execute and it will stop there. Okay, so now you got like how we configure this loop.
Yeah, but why are you giving that initial is equals to 1? Because anyhow, for the when creating the variable, you have given its value as 1, right?
Just let's check. I think that is also incorrect. Okay, so if it is incorrect, then it will execute for many times. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's check it. Mhm. And to check it, I enable the breakpoints. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and and in the my watch window, I use that initial variable. So let's see if the variable is incrementing or not. Okay,
Okay.
so it's I have enabled the breakpoint for pre-execute, which means for pre-execution of this task, it will stop. Okay, now it's running. for the first time. Okay, so after execution of this first, okay, so now you can see here the loop initial value is incremented to the 2, okay, for
Mm-hmm.
first time execution. And now let's continue it. And for the second time, after running it for the second time, the initial value got changed to 3. Okay, so
Okay.
now run it again.
So you put breakpoint points for every loop, right?
Sorry.
You are able to watch it like what is the value of that means you have applied that
Yes,
breakpoint for it, right?
yes, exactly. Then how we will know like it ran for 3 times?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay. Okay.
As you can see here, it is working fine. After 4, like the last value, after running for 3 times, the initial value got changed to 4.
Yes.
Okay, and after that, it was not running. It automatically stopped. Okay, because this condition results to false.
Yes.
Okay, so do not worry about this initial. Initial means it will run for the first time only. Optional, as you can see, optionally specifies an expression that initializes the variable used within the loop. Suppose we are using this variable somewhere else also. Okay, so it will reset this variable value of it will reset the value. Suppose from the last run, okay, what we know, like the value will be 4. Okay, so now again we want to run this. So either it will start from the 4 because the value for this initial was changed to 4 or something. It can be anything.
Oh, okay, okay. But
That
it
loop,
is like the scope is within the loop, right? I mean, if you use that variable in other something else, but the scope is, it's not
yes,
global, right?
exactly. If we decide that, like if we are if we are not doing anything with this loop, we are not changing the value of this variable anywhere else, then we know like this line is not required. Okay, but to be on safe side, we want to set the value of this initial as a one from first step. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's not
So
it's
it
not
means,
yes, come
yeah,
on.
it means by creating the variable, it doesn't
Hmm.
require you to give a value for that, right? And because you are giving the initial value. If we see for the max, for that variable, yeah, it makes sense if you give that number 3 because it should stop there. So for the initial
Exactly.
variable, you need not give there because here you are giving, right?
I can initially give the value to this variable as a 0 also.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what my question was. Okay.
Okay, so no
Mhm.
worries about it. We can run this package.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
Now you got like for the first time execution, it is setting this loop is setting the value for that initial variable,
Yeah.
and after first time execution, it is going to check because I suppose if there is something and its value is defined as -2 somehow. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so and we decided like it will check for 3. So how many times this loop will execute if its value is -2? So next time it will come as a -1 in first step, 0 and then 1 and then 2 and then 3. So it will execute for 5 times, not for 3 times. Okay, so defining this parameter equal to, which means it will be the first step, which means it will set the value to first in the first step, which means it will run for first, second and third. So we are defining the initial initial range and then to the maximum range. Then only it will run for 3 times only.
Okay.
We Now it will stop after this execution. Okay, so we are just how to check this thing, like loop is working or not. We enable the breakpoint for this. Okay, as you can see, I have selected this break at the beginning of every iteration of the loop, which means for each iteration it will stop. Okay, and I enable this also, which means from this when we press the start button, then it will pre-stop the it will do some pre-processing work, so it will uh, stop on that also. Okay,
Okay.
so side by side we are learning so many things. Okay, we will get we will come like will be very comfortable with this variable and also with the breakpoints. Okay, because everything we design in this uh, SSIS is like in development mode. We are designing or we are developing this SSIS package. So for that we need to have checked the working also as we are thinking. Okay,
Yeah.
so the for loop is clear to you, like for which task we need this, and this for
Yes,
loop
it
will
is.
be available in control flow because it's a decision of control. In what we do in control flow is we decide how the package will move, how the package will work, and what will be the different task in this package. Okay,
Hmm.
and one more thing, if you find any difficulty like what this task is for, where you want to use it. So when you select on the task, like I have selected the SQL task, so you can see here are 3-4 lines. Okay,
Yeah.
so these are really good comments. Okay, so read these things. So I think this will give you a brief idea, like this tool is for which kind of work. Okay, so as you can see,
Okay.
SQL statement or store procedure, for example, truncated table, as we did, and also create something. Okay, which means here we write some SQL statements and we can execute it on the some server or somewhere. In the same
Okay.
way, when you select this loop container, it will give you some brief introduction like repeat task in a package. Okay, so
Okay.
obviously it is repeating the task again and again in a loop as per the requirements. Okay, so we decided to run it for 3 times, so we did. Okay,
Okay.
so this loop task is clear to you.
Yes.
Okay, so now we will move on to next. So actually we are learning two things side by side. We are learning this control task as well as the task from the data flow. As we know in ETL, we know we will be extracting the data from some source, we will be transforming it, and then we will be loading it to some destination. So to do the middle T work, which means transformation of the data. Okay, so for that
Mhm.
we are having this data flow. In this tab we will define like how we are going to convert, how we are going to transform the data. As you know, we did something some like a row count, we derived something, and after that we have splitted the things. So what all these things except this source is transformation of the data. We are just transforming or we are just manipulating the data. Okay,
Okay.
so in this tool we will learn a new thing here. So that is very easy to learn. And here we have we will learn all these things. Okay, so do not worry about it. The common tools we will learn. Okay, and I don't want to make you learn by single step by selecting the tool and defining it, because if we do some task orientation, okay, then you will be very clear like where you can use this task. Okay,
Okay.
so this multicast is nothing, is a simple thing, like from the name itself it will simply copy the source to n numbers. Okay, so if you want to use this task in this flow as well as in some other flow also. Okay,
Okay.
so let's take just watch my steps. Okay, I will do something. I will delete this. Okay, before that I will route this source using this multicast, which means I can use this source as a multi-source, which means I can use it here also. I can use the source to more some other data flow. Let's take an example. In the same time, I want to dump the data. Let's take it to be a note text file. Let's simply read this source, and you want to uh, dump that data from Excel to some flat file, which means to a notepad file, which means to a text file. On it. So just create a blank text file here. Open it. Okay, so what we are doing here is we are multicasting, which means we are duplicating the source. I think you will feel some uncomfortable to understand because some things are not. Um, so from the source we extracted the data and that flow to this, and what multicast is doing is at the same time it is copying the source data to this flow also and to the destination also. We can have n numbers of this copy. Okay, in the same way we can have, I'm just taking that derived thing, that column again, and again you can have a copy, again we can have a data flow here. So multicast is doing nothing, which means it's simply copying a source to n as a n variable source, which means you can take this earlier you cannot drag this Excel source as a multi-source, but if you first if you have inserted this multitask, then it will simply copy the data to n, and as it will work as a n variable source. So did you find it comfortable to understand this multicast?
Somewhat actually.
Okay, so let's run this. If you find, then I will create a new package for this. It is doing nothing. It is copying the Excel source. Okay, with
Mm-hmm.
suppose we got 10 rows from this Excel source. Okay, so what
Mm-hmm.
this multicast will do, it will give the same 10 rows to this data flow, same 10 rows to this data flow, same 10 rows to this flow.
You're
Okay,
just splitting up like, to different destinations.
yes, not destination but to different data flow, different
Yeah.
data flow path. This
Okay,
path
okay.
has some different routes, this path has some different route, this path has some different routes. So when we execute this,
Like a single source and multiple like data flows, right?
yes,
Okay.
execute task. And now I'm just running this data flow, not the whole flow. We have decided steps in our control flow. You can see here we got 832 rows from the source, and what multicast did is it just copied that rows to all the different sources. Same
Yes.
goes to these three things.
I mean, this can't be done if you drag all the arrows into everything without that multicast container or something like that.
No, no, we
Okay.
cannot do, because Excel source will only give one source as output.
Mhm.
So this will only give this thing, one single line, not multiple lines. Let's try this
Okay.
also. Here you will not have the blue line again. If
Oh,
you
okay,
delete
okay,
this,
fine.
then only you will have a single blue line, which means it is a output for the true. Okay,
Okay.
and this one is for error. Like if we get some error here, then what you want to do. Okay, so we'll take a look
Okay.
on this red arrow, like where we use this. Okay, so again, multicast can connect to have a new source also. Okay, so multicast is doing nothing but it's just copying source to n numbers. It doesn't mean like a source. Whatever it is receiving, it will convert it to n numbers. So suppose I'm just
Does
there
it
is no.
have any limit, like only the like maximum 100 number of data flows or something like that?
I didn't have idea about that, but I didn't know about it exactly. Okay, so for that I need to check like up to which numbers it can.
And does it
Okay.
affect the performance of that package?
Obviously, obviously it will affect the package because for copying the data, it will take a RAM size, which means it will take a space in memory,
Okay.
okay, to duplicate the source or to duplicate the input rows. So it doesn't like you need to provide that multicast after the source itself. You can have that multicast anywhere. Suppose I will be using that multicast in after this step. Okay, so it will now copy the source for n values again. So it depends on you, like on which position you want to use this multicast. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. It doesn't like you need to have this multicast after the source itself only, but it can be used in anywhere in the package, anywhere in the this data flow. Okay. Suppose we want to have this thing after we you want like we have a requirement. Sorry, hold a second. Like for as we know we did in last class, we splitted the source according to the year. Okay, and we want this year row to be there. I want there should be two tables for this FY14 data. Okay, so how you will achieve this is you will delete it and use the multicast and drag a source from this to this multicast. Okay, now we can copy this 2014 to n numbers, which means run this. As you can see here, like here for the input, multicast got an input of 152 rows, because for 2015 we got to 152 rows, and what it did is it just copied that 152 rows to two sources. Okay, so
Yeah.
you can use this multicast anywhere in the flow,
Okay.
in
Okay.
the data flow. So it depends on our requirement for okay, so like how you want to use. So when you start working on some live projects, on some actual work, then there may be some situation like you want to use this multicast. Okay,
Okay.
so I'm just stopping it. So this multicast is clear to you. Okay. So we can
Yeah.
use it in anywhere in the data flow, or it is doing nothing. It's just copying the source rows to n numbers. At
Yeah.
present we are using it for 2. And again, if you want to have, you will simply drag a row from this multicast. It can have blue lines again and again. Okay.
Okay.
Now coming back to this. Now we'll have a new thing here. We learn about the containers, for loop container, multicast in the data flow, and now we'll have this thing, sequence container. Okay, so sequence container is nothing. It has nothing to do with this. It's just a grouping of task. Okay,
Okay.
so I'm just to I'm just uh, I'm duplicating this package because I don't want to edit this package and make it complex. Copy. Sorry. Paste. Okay, so we'll run this window, and here is this. So I'm just deleting this container, for loop container. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but before that I will extract this thing outside the container. Delete this. Suppose we have this thing. I'm just copying it again and to make some more tasks in this. Copy, Control V. So we have two, you can see here we have the same thing, but treat it as a two task, two two flow of task. Okay, so we have this task flow, and we have the same task flow here also. Okay, but this can be two different task flow. I copied it, but in real situation we can have two task flow here. Okay, so when we run this thing, the, these two things will start at the same time. As you can see here, both are running at the same time, which means these things are running as in a parallel. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and but our requirement is like we need to have this task after completion of this flow. You want to run this, okay? Which means we have this series of work. We have this series of tasks in our first priority, and then this series of work in our second priority. Okay, so there might be some case like you will be having some, you want the data first on the staging, and then you want it to be on some data warehouse. Okay, so first we bring the data to the staging and then to the data warehouse. So without extracting data from source to staging, we cannot have data in our data warehouse, because the source for data warehouse is staging. Okay, so I'm just taking an example of this warehouse creation. So in that case, suppose these series of tasks is for staging work, and this series of tasks is for data warehouse. So how you will run the package? You will run this task on first priority, which means after execution of this task, you want to run this thing. Okay.
Okay.
So for that, we will group the task. Let's group this thing in one container and this as a second container into a second container. So you have here, we learn about this for loop. Now we will learn about this sequence container, and after some in our next class we will learn about this for each loop, because it will take a full one class. Okay, so I will not
Okay.
discuss it today.
Okay.
Okay, so sequence container is nothing, it has nothing like you can there is nothing to configure it. So well, as we decided, oh man, now
So
I
we are
got to,
connecting two data flows, right? Through sequence diagram, I mean, which one should execute first and which one should
exactly, we will
execute next.
group the flows.
Okay.
We have so many tasks in our control flow,
Yeah.
and I did some mistake here. No. Mhm. And I selected this container. I'm just arranging the things. Okay.
Okay.
We'll rename this task 1. Again, drag a new container here. Click it to add, and these are the set of second task. When we name it task. Okay, so we group the things as we want. Okay, and now we will connect this thing. We have a line in this container. Just drag this thing to the second. Okay, now when we
Mm-hmm.
execute this package, So it will execute the first set of tasks, and after executing this, it will execute the second task. You
Mm-hmm.
have you got the point?
Yeah, but it really don't depend upon the output, right? Just it's
No,
like sequence
it
of
will.
steps.
Yes, exactly. It will. It has nothing to do with the work
Okay.
which we are doing inside the task.
Yeah, okay. It's just to make sure that, after running one task, the next task is starting.
Yes, exactly. Which means we are prioritizing this set of tasks as a first, these three tasks as a first on first priority, and after running these three, we will run a new set of tasks.
What if we get a error in first one? So does the second one run?
No, and the second one will not run. Obviously, it
Okay.
will stop here because we are. That's why we are prioritizing the thing now
Yeah, okay, okay. So can we
to
give some
bring.
options, like even though if it is like failed due to some reasons, the second task should run, something like that?
Okay, so for that we can generate an error. Suppose if we get error in this Excel source, so let's see what is the source. So we have this Excel connection manager. I will remove that Excel sheet from the source itself, then this will generate an error.
Okay.
Yes. So that the Excel which we are using here is this. So I will mm, move this Excel to some other destination. It will be. Now we will try to run the package.
Okay.
So ideally it should stop in the first task. So from the package validation itself, it is we are getting the error. So is there any method to generate an error? So we remove the source file. We move the source file to some other position, but the package validation is throwing an error. So we need to have put this file back. Okay, so without this thing, which means when we run the package, so what this package manager or this debugger does is first it checks the connections to the source. So if
Mm-hmm.
the connection to the source fails, then it will not run the package.
Change the data type and see for some columns.
Mhm. But again, we are not using somewhere in the destination, it will not generate an error.
That's okay. I just want to know, like, if
In the next class, I will try to create this thing. Okay.
yeah, okay.
Because obviously we will have to see this error thing because I thought to use this thing because for error handling uh, I was designing a simple set of demos, okay, so that not to this thing but what to do when we actually get the errors. Okay,
Okay,
so for that we have here a window event handlers.
okay.
Okay, so we will learn like if some container fails, so what you want to do. We have so many things here.
Oh, okay, okay,
So error handling is a new is a good thing, but to work on that you need to have some more time.
okay.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and again we have something precedence constraints. Okay, for next, so this sequence container is nothing but it's a setting of the grouping of the task. Okay, so there is nothing big thing in this sequence container. And yes, in next class I will try to generate an error. and I will show you like if we get an error in the first task, in which means in first container, then it will not go to the second container.
Okay.
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 Okay, and also we have something like precedence constant. So for these lines, we drawn a line here. Okay, we can have property. We can configure these lines also. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so by default, these line are set to the success, which means this line will forward a message to the next task to run only when the previous one is success. The previous task is success. So we can change the configuration also. Okay. So I think we cannot discuss those things here because we have very less time. So I have this thing, precedence constraints. Okay, so we will discuss on this in our next class, like how to deal with these things. I will give a brief introduction about this. Okay. So
Okay.
precedence constraint is like, suppose you have a condition like run. When we click on this start, by default this first task will execute. Okay, and after
Mm-hmm.
execution of successful execution, it will run the second task. Okay, but I
Mm-hmm.
have a new condition after running this. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you have a new condition like if today is Monday. I'm just taking an example. Okay, so if today is Monday, then only run the second task.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
For such kind of situation, we can define the line. Okay, we know
Okay.
like by default these lines are configured to be run after completion of the previous task, which means this will, when the successful execution of the set one, then this line will pass the message to the second task to run. Okay, so obviously, but I have a new condition here, like this. Okay, to run this task, and what today is Monday, then only run this second task. If today is other than Monday, which means suppose today is Tuesday, then after successful completion of this, the second task will not execute.
Does it
Why?
only work with sequence container or any of the
It
line, the line, the precedence container you are talking about? So,
yes, it is possible with any line, but only to this control flow.
okay.
Okay, you can configure these lines also. So precedence constant is for all, not to this
Okay.
container, but to the lines which we are having in the control flow. Okay, so we can precedence, which from name it is also saying that precedence means before executing this next task. You
Mm-hmm.
can have condition in these lines also. By default, they are set to have a success of the previous one. When this
Okay.
successfully executes, it will pass the message to the next. We can have some conditions here. If today is first of the month, or today, if the month is 7th, if the month is July, then execute this. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we can have multiple conditions. These are the things which makes SSIS as a powerful tool. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So here we have variables, here we have precedence constraints, here we have script tasks, and I will also give a brief introduction about like of this forest container. Okay, so forest loop is a very good tool. Okay, suppose we have 10 SRs, 10 Excel sheets in a
Mm-hmm.
folder.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you want to extract the data from the all 10 Excel sheets. Suppose we have a order demo file here. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
again in the next day some sales person will dump a new order sheet here. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
in the same way you can have n numbers of order demo sheets. Okay,
Okay.
order data in Excel, because the sales people will not come to your previous Excel data, and they will not simply add the rows there. They can easily provide you a new Excel sheet. Okay,
Yeah.
for that kind of work, to extract the data from all these things in a single task, okay, these for each loop we talk we use this for each loop container, which means it will iterate through all the Excel sheet, which means it will extract data from the first, and then it will extract the data from second, and again have it will execute up to the files, which means if there are n files here, then it will execute to n. Suppose we have four order files, then it will execute four times.
Okay, it
Okay,
should have same file name, or even though if it is different file name, it will pick it up.
I was just taking an example of file iteration. It can
Okay.
there are some more properties, like it can also do like after processing the data, after extracting the data from that file, it can move the file to some other destination also. Okay, so
Okay.
this for each is not a big thing, but it will take time to explain all the aspects of this for each loop. Okay,
Okay.
so I will discuss on this tomorrow with this precedence
Okay.
thing. Okay, so we will first continue with the precedence constants and then with for each loop. Okay,
Okay.
so now we are learning some actual SSIS task. Okay, so before this,
Okay.
those things are the basic ones. Okay. So
Okay.
for today we did nothing much, but we got introduction about what this container is. We learn about the for loop. For loop is clear to you, okay?
Yes.
And this sequence is also clear to you.
Mm-hmm.
And we got introduction about precedence constant. We will do a demo on it. Like I will try to create a situation like we will have seven sets here, okay, and for each day,
Mm-hmm.
suppose if today is Monday, then out of the seven sets, the first set will run, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and if it is Tuesday, then the second set will run,
Mm-hmm.
and then similarly so on. So it's not like when we press this start, so today if it is Tuesday, then the second set will run, so all the rest tasks will not execute because their precedence constant will not allow them to run.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see tomorrow. We will continue with this precedence work, and then we will see the for each container. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So I will try to create a new package and we'll do it in a cleaner way.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay then for today, this was from my side. And yes, do install your setup.
Yeah. I'll do it
Okay.
today.
Okay. And do not worry about the things. Okay. Because we cannot have introduction about all tasks in a single day. Okay. So
Yeah.
step by
Yeah.
step we will learn like how we are going to do this thing. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay then. Bye bye.
Bye. Have a good day.
Thank you.